The point is, you always look back and you're like, I should have told him. And part of the romance of it all is looking back going, I should have done that. And it's like been a lesson of everyone's life where you're saying like, I should have gone back and told that person I love them or whatever. And the lesson is learn to do it today.
Seems you can't be sure of anything anymore, although you may be lonely, and then one day you're smiling again. Every time I turn around.
Hello, welcome to Journaling Through the Years, episode 37. I am Leah. How are you? I am doing well. I'm getting into childhood diary years, that mindset. I am well. How are you? I actually was just recording the intro to this, and then I accidentally pressed the button and it stopped recording. So that's fun. But I was just talking about how reading a journal that was from a child's mindset, there's a little bit, it's hard sometimes for an adult to understand. Also, I was not very clear. I would start things and then say, oh, I don't want to talk about that. I think there's an element of I was learning to hide some things, my feelings, whatnot, from the outside world. And also I was learning to tamper and hide my emotions, which really, it made things hard, like later on in life, that I had to bury and hide so much. And so part of me wants to protect this little girl by allowing her to still be in that place. But I think part of my healing is to allow her to read between the lines and see what she wanted, what she was really saying and dealing with, and bringing that out, and why she was maybe hiding things that she didn't know. She didn't know. She felt there would be some repercussion if she did, Oh, that's better. Yeah. So, and I'm doing it in a way that is, broadcast all over YouTube or wherever it goes. So I like to rock a lot. I'm sitting on these pillows and they're comfortable. Dear Diary, it was on 2/21/89 and I was about 11, I think, so maybe 4th or 5th grade. Dear Diary, today I played with Janine. This is a little French girl that lived down the street from my house for like a year. Her family was renting a house before they moved to wherever else. After 2 days of playing together, we are becoming good friends. Oh, yesterday we went on a hike, and today we played Barbies. Next year she is not going to be here. I am sad, but I'm sure we'll be able to become pen pals. I don't know. Maybe like at first here and there, and then I think it stopped. I don't know. I can't even pronounce her name and don't know her last name. I don't know where she is. Also today on Fun House, which was this TV show on Fox in the afternoon about 4:30, and it was kind of like a game, like for kids and teens, like a game show, and they had to do like they had to run through like obstacle courses and stuff. Yeah. So also today on Fun House, Soleil was on it. Soleil is Punky Brewster. So first of all, I spelled it Solial, which it's actually Soliel. And then I spelled Punky Brewster, Brester. And if you don't know what Punky Brewster is, you're missing out. You gotta go. There was just a reboot. And when I was a kid, one of my favorite shows, I don't know if I really liked the show. I liked Punky Brewster. She was strong and she represented sort of everything that I wasn't. She was willing to be a little different in her life. She had also gone through some difficulty as far as she was like abandoned by her mom, and then this guy randomly found her, Henry. He was this older guy, and he adopted her, and he was like, "You're my kid now," and that was it. Nobody really talked about like this horrible thing that happened to this little girl, and now she was living on the street on her own, and where was her mom? She was just suddenly like, "Oh, okay, and now I'm a teenager, now I'm a kid, and I'm growing up." And I haven't been able to see the reboot that they did last year, 2021, but I believe they brought the mom in, and she met the mom and was able to find healing there. So, I mean, that's like the 80s versus like 2000s. We're like dealing with all this crap that happens in the world, and in the 80s they're like, yeah, this crappy thing happened, but let's just focus on like this cheesy comedy of it all. But because, even so, I did this series last year, maybe it was during quarantine, where I kind of studied in my blog the women from Les Miserables, and I went through the different women and how they represent a different aspect of female's evolution. So Eponine was kind of like that teenager, 20-something, maybe a little bit older, kind of unrequited love, looking for someone to be the solution and fill that emptiness. And love was the answer. Love with a significant other was the answer. And then Fantine was the next part of it, that sort of broken woman that is Eponine and then finds the guy and, you know, has to go through this like loss and tragedy, and it's kind of it is broken and has to find her own inner strength. And Eponine, and they both end up by dying, but it's more like a dying to self. So Cosette's life was quite different. And I remember when I was watching when I was watching Les Miserables, see, I really liked Eponine back then. I was high school 20-something when it was touring and all that. And when you like that idea of the unrequited love story that was Eponine's story, but Cosette was like very much like Punky Brewster. Her mom died, or abandoned her, basically died, and she was given to this older man to raise. The woman was like, "Take my child. I'm dying, take my child." And yet she was happy, like either one, whether she was loved by her mom who died, who did anything she could to care for this child. It was basic cutting her hair, being a prostitute, whatever she could to give money for this child who was living in this home that was not so good. And then she died and gave him to this man, Jean Valjean, who raised Cosette. Cosette was always loved. And I talked about how that foundation of love and security was what made her different than Eponine and Fantine, who had these hard lives and they're always seeking something outside of themselves. So it's like those are like the relationship addict, codependent, and Cosette is that kind of that ideal of all of us, to just be raised with a security and foundation of love and support and encouragement to seek your own, like who you want to be without repercussion, and then to grow up and be able to be that individual and be comfortable on her own. She even says, "Have you been too much on your own?" And then when she falls in love, it's a solid foundation. So I was comparing Cosette to Punky Brewster, and when I sang Cosette's song, and I'll put the link to it, the video of it and all that stuff in the about section, I kind of dressed like Punky Brewster, and I had like a little dog, little stuffed dog, because Punky had a dog, and I sang that song, The Castle in the Clouds. So we can go into it more. So anyways, I always looked up to Punky, and I don't think it was the show, because when I think about my favorite shows of all time, it's Night Court, Beverly Hills 90210, Saturday Night Live, and Doctor Who. And that kind of follows through like different phases of my life. Now Punky, I like the show, but I liked her. So, it wasn't the show itself. And, fun fact, she got a breast reduction. And on April 21st of this year, I am getting a breast reduction. So, thank you, Punky. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw her. I told Janine about it, and she ran to her TV and turned it on and saw her. She gets to only watch 2 shows a day, so she decided to watch Funhouse and Punky Brewster. Hey, I spelled it right there. So she gets more Punky Brewster. Well, I have to go now. I like that. Well, I have to go now. So, bye. Okay, it looks like I was about to write about 2 dreams, and then I crossed it out because I didn't start. I just said, Dear Diary, Diarry, on February 25th, 1989. I have 2 dreams I want to tell you, and then I didn't finish, so I crossed them off, and I came back on April 2nd, 1989. Dear Diary, have you ever really been in love with a boy in 2nd grade? So I was like in 5th grade, and I was writing about how when I was in 2nd grade, I was in love with a boy. I didn't know about it at first, but now when I'm older, now in my old age of 11 years old, I liked him. His name was J.W., and it wasn't the J.W. that I graduated high school from. This was a boy that was only there for like 2nd grade, and all the girls had a crush on him, but this was like my first. I'm actually realizing, and because I just want to say that if one of my high school classmates watches this and they're like, JW? Oh, is that one? No. This is another one. Nope. I did not graduate high school with him. This JW, not Jehovah Witness, was there. Let's just call him Jehovah Witness just for fun. No. This one was only there for like 1st and 2nd grade, and all the girls had a crush on him. All the girls had a crush in 1st and 2nd grade. I don't really know what that means. I don't know if we knew what that means, but this was my first kind of inclination of liking someone. This was my first falling into, I don't know what that meant. Yeah. I mean, I was exposed to TV shows and had older siblings and stuff that they were talking about kissing and sex, so I was kind of like curious about it in 1st and 2nd grade. But love was kind of tied into that because that's what I was seeing and understanding, and I just find that very interesting in 1st and 2nd grade. What do you want to say about that? Is that a social thing that a little girl was watching TV and was being raised by Disneyland and TV and all that and books? You can't just blame it on Hollywood and today's standards. You have to look back on like books like Wuthering Heights and all that. I hadn't really read those at the time, but we've been shaped by that mentality, Jane Austen, of the guy is going to come along and rescue you and fill your heart with love, and that's all you're ever going to need. And that's religion too, that mentality, and it affects even a 1st grader. And then I look at my life being in a situation where I didn't have a lot of security and love in my home life, and that was non-judgmental or without repercussion. And so even in 1st grade, I'm looking outward for it and not because I can't find it within myself. So back to this. I was very shy, but then now I am not so. Yeah, what? Yes, I am. I don't know. This is like the thing that the unrequited love, the Eponine of it all, that would follow through my whole life. Like in high school, I had a crush on a boy that I've talked about, that I went to camp with, and I never really told him. I never knew like how, and now if I could go back to that self, I'd just be like, go talk to him, say hi, tell him you like him, tell him you want to go and do stuff. But I was too shy. I also didn't really know who I was and what I could add to a conversation because I wasn't allowed to really be myself or explore anything. I was kind of forced to just like go along and not, and that's why I rebelled a lot. That's why I went off and went to parties and did all this stuff, because I was being stifled. Okay. And controlled to be something I wasn't. So I was shy. So the point is, you always look back and you're like, I should have told him. And part of the romance of it all is looking back going, I should have done that. And it's like been a lesson of everyone's life where you're saying like, I should have gone back and told that person I love them or whatever. And the lesson is learn to do it today. So I was just as shy in 5th grade as I was in 1st grade. I didn't really get out of that until maybe, I don't know, my 20s, and even that was like forced and based on mental illness and mania, and so maybe not even until my 30s. But anyways, and I still am a very introverted person, but what was I talking? Oh, I just learning from that over and over again to tell someone you love them or whatever. Who cares about what's going to happen? Who cares? You're going to learn whether they say, I don't love you too, or whatever. You're going to learn, and you're going to deal with that feeling and heartbreak or whatever. I think this is going to have a lot of humming because I left the microphone near the computer, so there's going to be a lot of humming. It's okay, though. Okay. I know I liked him a lot. He left my school, so now I have nobody that I really like. Ha! See? All those boys I graded high school? No one I really liked. And I never dated any one of them in my own class. So, ha! Ha! You snooze, you lose. Do you know somebody special that is having her period? I do. She is 14 years old, and that means, I don't know. I don't know what that means. But, she's, that's special. You know, remember when you were a preteen, like I was in 5th grade, and there was that time when the boys were taken to another classroom and the girls were taken to another classroom, and we had to watch a movie about puberty. And it was like, ooh, and they didn't really teach you anything. They just said, 7 days a month you're going to bleed, so keep track of when you bleed. And when you start to and don't do drugs, and if you have sex, you've got to wear a condom, otherwise you're going to get AIDS and die, because that was during the HIV AIDS epidemic, or you're going to get pregnant, or both. That's all. And that was all that I was taught. And I don't know if it's different now. But now, as I got older, then I learned about the different cycles within our cycle. And back then I didn't. But I was excited because I was seeing all these TV shows. Like I think even Punky Brewster or Blossom, where the girl was like getting her period and having to like have this whole show about getting her period. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. Little would I know. Little would I know that it's not what it is. I think that's where I'm going to end for today because I have other things to do. So let's recap on some of the things that I talked about in this vlog. We talked about Punky Brewster. We talked about the idea, and it was interesting that it just like flew, like kind of without me even trying, this idea of Eponine versus Cosette versus Fantine, and I'll have all the links of that blog and playlist below, so you could go back and check that out, and how I was looking at those 3 women and how they represent the different phases of her life, and that Cosette was the final one. You started with Eponine. You're that girl or that person seeking love outside of yourself, and then dying to yourself and going through that destruction, and then falling into the Fantine in the kind of wilderness years where everything has been stripped away and it's just you on your own trying to figure it out. And then as you die to yourself, you kind of wake up as Cosette, more firmly founded in yourself. And then we went into how even at 1st grade, I was already starting to have this Eponine mindset that maybe someone outside of myself could save me or fill me or give me that security that I couldn't find in my home life or within my own self. And I mean, and that's like the foundations for religion, really. You know, especially like Christianity. I know specifically the idea is that Jesus is going to come inside of you and come within you and make you whole, and that without Jesus you're empty. And that's very similar to what Hollywood says, to what Disney says, to what classic novels say. I mean, people don't want to look at like the classics like Wuthering Heights or Jane Austen or something like that. Or even my favorite, like the Anne of Green Gables series and Lucy Maud Montgomery. There was always that sense of the immortal beloved, the other one that's going to come and be that hero. And it's been all the way through. And yes, love is great, but we need to come to that Cosette of it all, where you're firmly founded within yourself and have that you love yourself. You come to that solid foundation, and then from that, healthy relationships can come forth. Now, after many, many years of kind of living within this relationship addict of Eponine and Fantine and going kind of back and forth, going, okay, I'm Fantine now, and I want to be in that place where I'm infatuated with someone so that I can have at least that drug, even if it's unstable. Okay, that broke my heart. Now I'm at Fantine. Okay, back and forth. Clearing that away and being Cosette, there still is a tendency for me to go back. And, you know, we talked about how Punky Brewster was already kind of the opposite of this, in the sense that she had dealt with some really hard things, but she found her solution, or she found this solid ground with this man who came in, was a father figure who wasn't, adopted her, and just made her feel safe so that she could be 100% herself. She could wear 2 different color Converse and weird things tied to her overalls and just have this kind of kooky personality, and she felt solid within herself without any repercussion. And from that, she was able to thrive and live this kind of successful, happy life and go through all the things that a person goes through without any sort of repercussion. So that's something to ponder in your own life. Where are you at? Are you in that sense of Cosette? Are you finding a solid ground within yourself and be able to have that sense of loving yourself and stability? Or do you find yourself falling back in that craving, the infatuation, the high of it all to distract yourself from your own self and your own pain? And are you falling back into that wilderness of drama and whatever of Fantine? Comment down below, and we will talk next.
Maybe the world is blind, or just a little unkind. Don't know. Seems you can't be sure of anything anymore. Although you may be lonely, and then one day you're smiling again. Every time I turn around, I see the girl who turns my world around, standing there. Every time I turn around, her spirit's lifting me right off the ground. It's bigger than me. Guess we'll just wait and see.